I'm also excited to introduce Anna Mayo, VP of the Beauty Vertical at NIQ. She's having a little technical issue on her end with the presentation, so just everybody sit tight. We'll get that up and running in just a moment. Great.
Are you able to see
Okay.
it now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm having some computer problems, so hopefully this works. But just shout out if it doesn't. I don't think I'm gonna be able to see the chat. Um,
Well, I'll be
so
monitoring the chat, so if anybody has any questions during the presentation, feel free to drop them there or DM me directly and I will address them with Anna later in the call. But for now, I feel we could get started.
Okay, awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is my first webinar with Naturally Network, so I don't know if I see some familiar names on the list, which is great. So thanks for joining. But for any of you that I haven't met before, my role at Nielsen IQ is leading thought leadership for our beauty and personal care vertical. So I am thinking through all of the trends that are happening across this very fast-paced and quickly moving industry, and trying to bring an objective perspective to you from all of our very many different data sources that we have across Nielsen IQ. So, always try and keep my ear out for what is the latest and greatest trends. If you ever have topics that you're thinking about, I ask always, please feed them my way so I can make sure that I'm covering them as well. When we are talking about beauty and personal care for Nielsen IQ, the data that you're going to see today is driven by our Omni Shopper panel, and this is our most comprehensive view of what beauty means. It is covering all channels from mass, prestige, direct to consumer, online, offline, even emerging channels like TikTok Shop, because we know that this is such a dynamic and fast moving category. The consumers are really being influenced by so many different places, right? So you could be buying a Chanel foundation one day, and the next day it's a Maybelline mascara in Walmart. So it's so important to be able to have one full picture of all of that purchasing behavior. We also measure beauty across 90 global markets. So if any of you have a global responsibility, we can certainly help there as well. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about wellness. I actually would love, I don't know, this might be hard to do, but would love to hear from all of you in the chat if you want, what do you think wellness means to you? I'm going to just open the chat and see if anybody wants to share anything. I feel like this is one of those terms that can be a little bit kind of nebulous and sort of hard to define. I don't know, I didn't see anyone adding anything, but that's okay. I might not be able to see everything. Anyway, when we ask consumers, what is, oh wait, we got maybe one response. Yes, Rob, feeling better both inside and out. I totally agree. Good to see you, Rob. Yeah, when we ask consumers what wellness means to them, it is this kind of holistic health, right? So traditionally, beauty has been about really looking good, but this is expanding. It's about feeling good. It's about taking care of mental health, emotional health, physical health, so that you can feel as good on the inside as you look on the outside. We're seeing this really be, how Claire has said, a context within which approach how I live my life. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's an important part about wellness, is that it really is not one category. And if any of you were on the session that Chris just did before me, but talking all about how trends within food, wellness can be how you eat, it can be how you exercise, it can be how you take care of yourself on a spa day or a massage. Those things are all kind of part of wellness. We're also seeing wellness really be enabled by technology products, right? So there's lots of tools out there that are helping us make smarter decisions, really monitor how our bodies are reacting to different types of stress or different things that we're eating or drinking. So that certainly helps with a lot of awareness around wellness as well. And people are really expecting a personalized wellness plan, right? So this again can be enabled by technology tracking, also things like monitoring different health markers or getting blood panels done. Um, people really want to understand what works for them specifically, because there's been a lot of understanding that we are not all made equal, and what works for one person might not work for the next person. And it's, of course, it's an opportunity for premiumization too, right? So people are willing to pay more for products that are better quality and that are offering them more benefits, whether that's in terms of nutrition or just overall health, or something that's making them feel better. Some of the big trends that we are watching across wellness is, so we'll start first with nutrition and gut health. So a lot of focus on the ingredients that are in the food that we eat, and also the products that we're putting on our body. Um, Lots of thinking about probiotics and what it takes to have a healthy digestion, and understanding that digestion impacts many other aspects of your life and your appearance. Ultra processed foods have really been popping up as a issue, or piece that people want to avoid. 22% of Americans are holding a very negative view of ultra processed foods, and we expect that to only increase. Again, health technology, I talked about a little bit about this earlier, but this is really enabling people to make better choices. And we see it in our data with people who are wearing and using these health trackers. They are tending to make better decisions. So things like cooking more healthily, paying attention to their sleep quality, and overall improving their mental health and well-being. Self-care, mental health has become these huge buzzwords that people are really thinking about all the time. But again, what does it take to improve your self-care and mental health? People tell us it's getting physical exercise, spending time outside, spending time with family and friends. And then finally, weight loss. So this has been, a really big topic that's come to light in the past few years, with us very enabled by the rise of GLP-1 medications. But people are actively trying to lose weight for the first time in a long time. We're seeing the obesity rates actually start to trend down in the US. And 32% would actually consider using a weight loss drug if it was recommended by a healthcare professional. And so all of these macro trends are impacting beauty and personal care, our industry, in different ways. And so we'll kind of unpack that today through this presentation. All right, so we're going to take a look at total beauty, personal care, and wellness. So we just went through the kind of macro big trends, but now we're going to spend some time on thinking about how that impacts our industry. And so we're first starting with defining, like, what exactly do these terms mean, right? So beauty, our traditional beauty categories, we're thinking about that as cosmetics, facial skincare, fragrances, and hair care, right? Those are kind of those core beauty categories. Personal care is more around total body care, so things like bath and shower, deodorants, hair removals, lotions, and sun care. And then when we get to wellness, these are the more adjacent categories to beauty and personal care that we think there is a opportunity for brands to extend into, or for beauty-focused retailers to extend their assortment into. So the closer in categories that have more overlap with the qualities and the different shopper behaviors of beauty and personal care. So these will be home scents like candles and fragrance oils, supplements, feminine care, oral hygiene, and sexual wellness. And when we add those new wellness beauty categories into our definition of total beauty and personal care, we do see an expansion of the market. So total beauty personal care is around 120 billion. Adding on all of those additional wellness categories, we see a market expansion of about 36%, all the way to about 160 billion. So the bulk of that is driven by supplements, but also some strong sales potential for oral hygiene, home scents, fem care, and sexual wellness. So again, these categories that we're looking at, we think have kind of a natural affinity with existing beauty and personal care brands and retailers for expansionary opportunities. Okay. And when we look at the trends for beauty and personal care, those categories I showed earlier, as well as wellness, we are seeing that over the past 2 years, wellness is growth is outpacing beauty and personal care. So wellness growing just under 12%, beauty and personal care just under 9%. We are seeing in for both segments an increase in buyers as well as trips. And in terms of growth, so this is looking at year over year dollar growth rate for all of those individual categories that we just talked about earlier. Our leaders are supplements, fragrance, and sexual health. But again, all of these categories have positive growth. You know, beauty and personal care has been a really bright spot across the total store in the past few years, with shoppers really continuing to prioritize these categories, even as they might be cutting back in other areas of the store. And so we see that reflected here. What's also really important to understand about these departments is the shopping dynamics between in-store and online. So beauty and personal care, right now we're seeing about 46% of sales happening online, and that's only continuing to increase. For this year, online growth is about 20%, and in-store growth is 1.5%, 2%. Um, so, we will be in a situation soon where we're seeing almost, we have over half of sales happening online for beauty and personal care. And very similar story for wellness. So, wellness is actually almost at 50%. So, thinking digitally first has become so critical, understanding how people shop the digital shelf versus the physical shelf, and how to adapt your brand strategies for that. Yeah, again, down below, I have the growth rates for wellness and beauty for in-store and online. So you can see that really dramatic increase in sales, trips, and buyers for online versus in-store. Breaking out those individual categories that we talked about, how much of the sales are happening online versus in store. We're about a little under 50% total. Some categories are already majority online. So supplements, 60% of sales are happening online. Sexual wellness is another one, 60% of sales happening online. Versus some of our more home care categories, so candles and fragrance oils, which are still majority in store. There's a lot of um, people want to understand the scent and be actually able to smell it before they purchase it, as well as oral hygiene and fem care, which are kind of those need it now categories that remain majority in store as well. And so, who is the wellness shopper? When we look at our definition of wellness, we find them to be generally of a really high income, so household income over 150,000, which is an over index. We also see that their age tends to be really clustered around mid-age, so millennials with kids at home, and we do see a lot of diversity in the consumer. It is also trending towards an even more diverse consumer, so growth is coming from diverse consumers as well as high income, and even getting a little bit younger in terms of where the growth for the wellness consumer is coming from. We're seeing some trends peaking in age 25 to 29, which is a little younger than traditionally what we thought of as the wellness consumer. And so this is taking a look at household penetration by the different segments and by generation. So we can see a lot of penetration focus with Gen X as well as millennials, right? These are really those key buyers right now who are in the life stage, getting older, trying to figure out how to ease their aging process. They also have kids at home, so maybe under a little bit more stress. Like, this is the group that is really invested in these wellness categories. But we are seeing Gen Z start to enter as well, which again traditionally at a younger age people wouldn't be investing so much in these wellness products, but the way that we're thinking about wellness being for prevention and for overall quality of life, we are seeing it bring in some more of those younger consumers. Just highlight some brands to watch that are doing some really interesting things in wellness. You'll notice a lot of these brands are really using a lot of claims and benefits that are kind of crossing through categories. So a few I'll talk about. Mary Ruth's is a supplements brand. Super interesting. They have a lot of formulations that are very much focused on beauty, so hair, skin, nails, different things for sleep. And they very much market their products, like they were a beauty brand. They're seeing really phenomenal success. They're also actually one of the top growth brands on TikTok Shop. So, I think that's an important call out too, is how you influence people on social. Lemmy, similar to Mary Ruth, but again, very much marketing these supplements as a beauty brand, thinking about solutions first, right? So it's for sleep, it's for weight loss, it's for hair, skin, nails, and making it a really fun product experience to purchase. Cora and Rael have been kind of pioneers in this space in the fem care and sexual health areas. So trying to kind of revive those categories, make them a little bit more fun and more appealing to younger consumers than they had been in the past. And we see a lot of opportunity for existing brands in the beauty personal care space to expand into more wellness areas. So there's a few that are kind of starting to explore this. Kiehl's has some sexual wellness products that they've launched recently. Not something you would think about them traditionally, but they are skincare experts, and so these products are to help with ingrown hairs and different post shave and post wax routine products. Neutrogena has launched some supplements, right? So thinking about they're the experts in skin health. So how do we now really come out with a supplement that's to help skin health from the inside out? So they have different skin hydration gummies as well. And then Aquaphor coming out with foot masks. So again, extending those ingredients that they're really known for to other specific parts of the body. And then I think this one's really interesting. NYX has IV infused lip stains, so lip glosses powered by electrolytes, which is really fun. But our expectation is that we'll see more beauty brands expanding this way in the future, and then we're also seeing brands coming the opposite way, so coming from the wellness space into beauty and personal care. So Method and Miss Myers, which started out as cleaning products. Method has a really successful line of body care with body washes and lotions. Miss Myers just came out with candles. Ollie, the vitamin brand, had just launched some body care serums and lotions. So you're going to continue to see these lines really merging and getting blurrier as consumers kind of meld what they think is beauty and what they think is wellness, and who belongs in which space. All right, so we're going to look ahead to some key wellness trends that we're watching for the future, and these are a little bit more forward-looking. They're not things that are probably going to impact products on shelf today, but I think there's a lot of inspiration you can take as you're developing products and thinking about how you talk about your products with consumers. So we'll talk about biohacking and personalization, AI and technology, and then beauty from within. So biohacking is all about kind of self-improvement and thinking about figuring out ways to improve your performance, your recovery, your health, whatever it is. We're seeing a lot of focus on personalization. So, people, again, really wanting to know exactly what it is that their body needs. So there's been a huge rise of these, blood testing services, right? People wanting to understand, like, am I specifically in need of vitamin D or vitamin C, or what should I be taking based on my lifestyle? And this extends to products as well, right? If you know that you're deficient in a vitamin or you need something specific, people are going to be looking for a product to solve that need. There's also a huge rise of these different med spas and wellness boutiques. I think within probably 2 miles of my house, there's like 7 of these opening, or have just opened recently, but different like IV therapies, saunas, you know, cryotherapy, cold water, facials, types of places where people can go for treatments. And so while this isn't directly the industry that we're in, Many of these services require post care. People looking for products that help, extend the life of their treatment or, enhance the treatment that they're getting. And this is definitely a role that we can play in as an industry, and the experts for at-home care after these types of treatments. Technology, of course, being able to play a huge role here. Wearable technology has really changed people's relationships with how they understand their body and the products they're using and their habits. I'm sure most of you have some sort of Fitbit or Aura Ring or Whoop or whatever it is. I have a Whoop and I love it, but it really helps you understand how much sleep you're getting, if you need to change things about your habits, how different things like air travel might affect how you feel the next day. So I think this is really a really powerful tools that people are using to better understand their own bodies. um, AI skin analysis tools are really interesting. I don't know if any of you have used any of these before. Um, we work with a company called Perfect Core. We partner with them on a lot of events. They power a lot of these tools. And I can brag a little bit, but when I did the skin scan, it said my skin was 10 years younger than I actually am. So I'm very proud of that. But these are really cool. And it just, a few seconds, it scans your skin and it tells you, you're dry under your eyes. You are, have a little redness in your forehead, whatever it is. And they can actually recommend products. So we're seeing that brands that partner with these types of tools can see a really strong uplift um, in sales because the right products are being recommended to the people who need them. And then devices at home, so huge boom in things like LED masks, sauna blankets, massage guns, but any way to kind of bring that wellness experience at home. We're seeing huge growth in beauty devices, up about 17% year over year. Uh-oh, what happens? Okay. And so then thinking about all of these, many of these different themes that we're talking about, and there's a lot of different ways for them to show up, right? So if we, think about supplements, like this is a very broad category, um, but it's all about kind of a bespoke mixture of vitamins meant to solve a certain problem. So that that can be approached from a beauty angle, right? Are these supplements for hair, skin, nails, or is it from more of a wellness angle? Are these to help improve your mood or your focus or your sleep? Um, there's a lot of different ways this type of concept can show up. And the same thing for gut health, right? Are we taking a probiotic um, orally every day, or are we incorporating probiotics into food, things like poppy soda or kombucha? Um, people are starting to look for these trends everywhere. So even in beauty, thinking about like protein, right? So protein showing up all across the aisle for food. We're seeing it on protein and different formats of bars. It seems like everything has protein now, but then it starts to move into beauty, and we're looking at protein in skincare and in hair care to help repair bonds and build and repair the skin. Same thing with hydration, right? So this is not just about electrolytes anymore, but it's about hydrating the skin. And so you see a lot of things passing between the aisles. So I think really important to keep an eye out on trends that are happening in terms of ingredients across the total store, because it is likely that they are going to come to the beauty aisle sooner rather than later. Okay. And then another example of how wellness could show up in some unexpected ways. I think this is a really interesting one, but with temperatures rising, we're seeing a lot of products show up to help people beat the heat. So whether it's cooling products for skincare, SPF that also cools, cryofacials. Again, don't discount when you see these trends showing up across the broader spectrum, because there are applications for take home products and there are applications for our industry. Right. And so GLP-1, I mean, this has been a very big topic for the past couple of years, and we've all been struggling to try and understand this and how people are reacting. We are seeing that about just under 7% of U.S. households have someone currently using a GLP-1 medication for weight loss, and there are pretty important changes to how they shop and to their behavior for a consumer who's taking a GLP-1 medication. So rapid weight loss can cause changes to the hair, to the skin, and we find people really looking for solutions to help them solve these issues. We also find that GLP-1 users tend to be heavy health and beauty buyers, so they are spending about 30% more than a non-GLP-1 user across this department. Another way that GLP-1s are impacting um, the landscape is in the demand for medical aesthetics. So in-office treatments from a dermatologist or plastic surgeon. 63% of GLP-1 patients who are getting medical aesthetics are actually new to receiving those medical aesthetics. So they hadn't been doing them in the past, but now they're experiencing, sagging skin from rapid weight loss or hair thinning or whatever it is, and they're taking new trips to see a professional for this. And this is important because when we see people take a trip to a medical provider for aesthetic treatments, it does actually impact how their at-home routine. So we see a portion of them who actually cut back on their products. We see people switch to less expensive products so that they can make room in their budget to afford the professional treatments. So again, another place to keep an eye out, because as aesthetic treatments rise in popularity, we will see changes to how people consume at home post treatment or pre-treatment. And then the spending boost that we typically see for GLP-1 users is a bit short-lived. So in the first 9 months, we do see a bump in spending as they're adjusting to the new lifestyle, trying to figure out their new habits, which products work for them. But then it does level out a bit. So it is important to kind of capture these people right away, get as part of their routine, because you don't have the biggest time frame in order to influence their behavior. And more products and brands are coming out with specifically marketing towards GLP-1 users. And if you go in the frozen food aisle, you'd probably be amazed how many products are calling out on the front of the box, GLP-1 support or protein for GLP-1s. Lots of supplements being released for specifically to help boost GLP-1, without a shot. And I even in a few recent trade shows, I'm seeing skincare products that are specifically marketed towards GLP-1 users and to help kind of tighten and firm skin and hair while going through this rapid weight loss. And social media, we haven't talked about TikTok, and surprisingly too much in this presentation yet. But this is more and more so where those trends are being born and coming from. So wellness, a really popular topic to post about. Protein, supplements, gut health, some examples here. So keeping an eye out on the social trends is a really great window into to what will be happening next. All right, so we're going to end by talking about who is winning in wellness and where the retail trends are moving to. So when we look at where most of these wellness sales are happening, our biggest channel by far is mass merchants. So this would be Amazon, Walmart, and Target. These are our top three merchants for selling wellness, but then followed pretty closely by our drugstores as well as Costco. To zoom in a little bit on Amazon, Amazon has been by far the biggest growth retailer that we've seen for beauty, personal care, as well as wellness. Double-digit growth across all of the categories that we are measuring, that they're playing in. facial skincare and feminine care are the two fastest growing categories right now, but supplements also growing really strongly, about 26%. Some of the top brands to keep an eye out on Amazon are Nutrafol and Liquid IV, Mary Ruth, which we talked about earlier, Boca, Rael, and Cora. And when we ran a survey among consumers to ask about which retailers were having had the strongest association with wellness, again, this is based on survey data, not on consumption data. But Walgreens and CVS, or drug retailers, really still have that strongest association with wellness. That's where people think of first when they're going to look for products that help them feel better. But then followed up pretty quickly by our mass retailers, so Target, Amazon, and Walmart. And we see our beauty specialty retailers are very active in this space as well, expanding their assortments. Ulta specifically has done a really good job here. So they've actually taken out shelf space from their traditional beauty products to make room for wellness. And so we're seeing products like body care, deodorant, sun care, supplements perform really well in Ulta. And actually, the performance has been so good that they just announced that they'll be expanding their wellness section. So they've done a really good job at repositioning what they stand for as not just a beauty merchant, but about total wellness as well. Sephora has been a bit more of an online play. So, in store, they remain still mostly core beauty, but you can see a whole variety of products online. And then, of course, we see Derm Store, Revolve, so all kind of playing in this space and trying to figure out how to adjust their assortments to meet the needs of today's shopper, what they're looking for. All right, so that's what I had to share. Would love to answer any questions that there are, either on the chat, or I don't know if people can come off mute and ask if they have anything.
You're welcome to unmute yourself if you'd like to ask a question. Or you can drop it in the chat, DM me directly. I'm actually curious though, Anna, what are you seeing as like the impact of TikTok in the beauty and wellness industry?
Yeah, I mean, TikTok is the driver of trends in beauty. That is where people are finding out about things first. That's where increasingly new brands are launching. So, the old way, it's not even old, like, 2-3 years ago, if you were launching a new brand, you'd partner with, a Target or a Sephora or an Ulta to get it out there. But now, brands are doing it on TikTok Shop, and they're driving that demand up, and then they are being asked to come into these major retailers. So even if you're not on TikTok, the trends, still really start there, and then they move across to other social platforms and other types of media. But yeah, I mean, it's most of the new launches that we've been measuring in the past year have either started on or been really heavily aided by TikTok Shop. TikTok Shop.
We have a question from Gui. Anna, do you think that repair microbiotic products will become bigger after the GLP-1 explosion?
I mean, gut health products are growing. It's definitely an area where people are thinking about it. I'm not that familiar with repair microbiota specifically. I don't know if we're going to see like a huge explosion in probiotic usage, because I think it's already gotten pretty big, but I don't see any evidence that it would slow down. And I think, if a brand can introduce new benefits or kind of a new reason to believe to the market, there's certainly a lot of potential for growth, because supplements is a very fast growing category. I hope that answers that. Any other trends that you guys are seeing in wellness that I didn't mention today? Any brands that you're excited about? Maybe your own brand?
Yes, you're welcome to share more about your brand as well, or drop it in the chat. It's a quiet group today. Don't be shy.
It's okay. I keep thinking it's Friday, but it's not Friday.
Just means you're so thorough. Okay.
Well, my email, my LinkedIn is on the screen. Feel free to reach out to me. We can connect on LinkedIn, however you want to stay in touch. But if you think of something, I'd love to hear what's top of mind for you. Always trying to stay on top of the latest trends. So I'm sure you guys are hearing about things that I haven't heard about yet.
Will do.
Oh, a non-toxic cosmetics brand born from breast cancer journey. That's awesome. That's very cool.
Love that.
Sales strategy. I don't know. My advice would be TikTok shop. Honestly, get some good influencers to work with you. Creatine. Yes, I totally agree. Creatine is going to be the next boom. That's a great call out. We have to add creatine into our next version of this presentation. I haven't seen any personal care or beauty products with creatine in it yet, though. I don't think.
It's a good new brand to start.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's coming. I'm sure next trade show I go to, it'll be all creatine products.
If no one has any other questions, I want to thank Anna again for her time today and for sharing all these insights with our community. This recording, the presentation, and her contact information will be shared following the call. Thank you everyone for joining us again today, and have a wonderful week.
Thanks, everybody.